what made you allow me to do this to begin with? Because I feel so grateful.
Well, I think for me, I've always enjoyed watching like just reaction videos in general, just because it's just people appreciating taking the time out when they don't really need to, just to get invested in this. And for me, I think that was just one of the biggest important things. It's just I think that's the only way that I can really see some type of engagement with just like the viewers and the people that enjoy it, good or bad. And
Mm.
for me, I think when I came across I think your reaction, say what reacts. I think it was like I've watched it a lot. Well, I mean, yeah, and I think when I came across, I think in the beginning, when you noted that like So Beautiful was kind of like a werewolf transformation, and you know what, like it may have looked like that, I think, but it kind of, funny enough, I think it means a lot. Like that werewolf thing is actually the wolf thing is a big
Yeah.
symbolic. I mean, we'll probably get into that later, but yeah, I just found how, I guess, intuitive you were with a lot of these things, and a lot of times when I see a lot of the reaction videos, I just enjoy it genuinely. But I think what was really striking about your reactions were, it was every time I think I released something and you reacted to it, and the further you got into the character, the lore, and all these things that you pick up on, like First Day in My Lives or something. And I just found it so fascinating that, funny enough, I was trying to project a lot of things, meanwhile not make it too, I think, obvious at a certain point.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, you must know there are certain things that are extremely real, that I sometimes have a hard time thinking if I should go about it in this way. And
Mm.
a lot of time my team says, are we being too overexposing? And
Mm. Yeah.
see, there's pros and cons to that. But I've always, I think I grew such a, I guess, appreciation for people that, obviously like yourself, and I think that show that appreciation through just understanding and taking the time out to really deep dive. And again, it is such an intricate storyline, and it's because it's so personal. I think more the reason, so I never really leaned on the idea of anybody even wanting to dive that deep. I think it was, for me, it's just, for me it's real, but for everyone else, I was totally fine for it to be just a concept. And in those like underlying messages, maybe they got it and maybe they didn't, and I was completely fine with that. But I think when I came across yours and you started just nailing everything on the head, just so it was almost scary, I think, because you were so like you catched up on a lot of these things. And I think through that, it helped me like realize, wow, there are actually people that, I feel like not only take the time out to just explore this, but I feel like you really care. And I think that was something that I was extremely inspired by. And I think, and I always tell this to my team, like whatever I do, it's not really about the mass numbers that I'm doing it for. It's really just about anybody that could, if it hits home or in any certain parts, it's just, if it does something good for
Yeah.
anyone. I think that was the kind of driving factor of any of my projects. And for me, I've never been the one to shy away from being transparent about things. And I think that's the only way I know how to do a lot of my works. Really, it's really based on real life theory. And
Yeah.
I think, again, it's the honor is mine, because again, it's so fascinating to see somebody that really just, I think, takes the time to care about this. And to me, that's, I don't know, to me that's a big deal, because again, it's such a personal thing that, I've dropped all hopes and expectations of even trying to describe this to even like friends, and family, just because I don't want to also burden them with
Right.
certain things. And it's just not in me to, give that type of luggage to somebody, because it is immense. But I mean, again, this is not like I don't think I'm giving luggage to people when I do
I
these
hope
content.
not.
Well, I certainly hope not. And
Yeah.
for the most part, I think, yeah, that's just really what made me, I think, gravitate towards. And it was in your last reaction that you said, what you would do to just have a chat with me. And I think for me that was kind of, it was so funny because it was something that I was thinking about relatively, because I was thinking I wish I could just sit down and talk to these people, because not only are they really engaged with this, but it's because I would just honestly just would want to just have a chat and just
Hmm.
really think about things that they've discovered and I'm trying to discover and I'm figuring
Yeah.
out myself. But and I'm sure, and and again, for the most part, I know a lot of this storyline is so intricate, but yeah, you've been doing such an amazing job at again, very shocking. It's interesting that you picked up on that, and I think for the most, yeah, again, I think the whole, I guess the whole album and the whole concept was actually based more on that. I mean, I do have bipolar, but I think for the longest time, because DID is such a I'll say like a very anomaly in terms of it's still being researched and there's not enough background on this. So again, for me, I think it's a, I don't know. I sometimes even think now if it feels the right thing to make that statement, because um, in the beginning, I think I was more prone on just expressing myself. Like there was no real motive other than, like however people take it. You know, I I think I should just open up with a small part of who I am, and it would be a lot more easier for people to develop the idea that this might be based on my episode, which it's fine. But however, for me, the more real aspect is my episodes. I disassociate myself
Right.
in my episodes, and I think for me, especially it's been, I don't know, about a good 8 years since I think I've been gradually disassociating myself. I
Mm.
think and I find out I've been doing this, I think, ever since I was a kid.
Mm.
So I think for me, it's quite interesting because again, as I'm putting these out, um, all the time, so I feel like I'm constantly changing my thoughts on these releases and just how much I can't say.
Mm.
Because again, it's such a taboo topic with just mental health in general,
Oh,
and
I know, and I hate that so much. But yeah,
it's understandable because
yeah,
I think at the end of the day, they don't. A lot of the people that will relate to it will find the similar strands, and if they're in search and need of wanting to just kind of lean into something or somebody, I think it's perfect. But obviously, for those that don't know what really goes on behind the scenes, and obviously you can't really open my doors completely to it. Obviously, they can only judge it based on a certain criteria that I'm stating or what's online anyway.
right.
I do understand that it is a forever ongoing. I guess you can't please everyone, and
Right.
going into this, I'm very well clear of that. However, at the same time, I don't like. I sometimes question, am I glorifying it in any type of
Mm.
way? I would hate to put it on a pedestal where it makes disorders look cool. Like it's more in this consensus of, and I think that's the one thing that I think I've always struggled with, because it's, for me, it's as real as day and night,
Yeah.
but to somebody else, it might spark something in them. And, I don't want to have something later in the future where people don't have necessarily anything wrong with them, but because it might look somewhat cool to them or something, that they might grow that agenda. And I think
Yeah, I see the concern there.
that there is a bit of a concern in that part. But for the most part, the whole DRD thing was. is still somewhat fairly new to me. It's, me and my team have been studying it for so long, and we've been documenting this for years. And one of the first ideas that we've ever really wanted to do was literally release a documentary after, I'd say we wanted to document for at least about a good 6 7 years, and really just build on off of that. And the idea of that was to just really be more informative, and later on, whoever can reflect and look on this, maybe it can provide further information, friends, families who might have that, because it's still a new condition. And I've seen other people that have certain quote unquote DRD, but a lot of the misconception too is a lot of people that might have bipolar might misconstrue it with having DID, because a lot of people that do have bipolar, it's very neck and neck. People that have bipolar tend to, especially the ones that get really manic, and type 1, I believe, and especially those ones that really get traumatized. And I think trauma and manic episodes shouldn't go hand in hand, but essentially, if they do, that's kind of at an early age. I think that's when people start disassociating themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not, and for me, I feel like I've seen so many different types, but at the same time, I know sometimes that people that have a certain bipolar might actually have DID, not bipolar.
Right.
So it's something that I'm still figuring out, but for the most part, I think a lot of boxes check out in terms of what DID for me is, with the blackouts. And again, it's hard to sometimes project that. And I think I will say honestly, by doing moto and oh gosh, like I don't know, by doing moto, it really did enhance the character that I've always been living with unconsciously, and it definitely.
You mean like by giving a name?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And I think I've been, and again, because of that, I think for a fact I know, like like Tom Holland did something that I think played a character in the movie that played a DID role, and I think his role was actually the closest I ever saw to what I experienced when I come out of switches. And it was, I think at that moment, that was kind of, it was hard for me to see, but like obviously, like you have movies like what is it, like Switch,
Split, I think.
Yeah, Split.
Yeah.
But that's like
I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I know of it. Yeah.
So it doesn't really happen like that. It's that's obviously like a very exaggerated, like Hollywood style of it, but
Yeah.
for me, it really does hit home when like for example, like the minor that you see on screen, I'll say it's only a fragment of what he really is and what he really looks like and what it really, and what he really sounds like. Obviously, only a certain few number of people have seen it that are a part of my team, and like certain friends. And it's I would say the one that you see on the screen is a very dumbed down version of what it is, and it's put me in such so many spots that a little bit concerning sometimes, but at the same time, I think for me, to be completely honest, it really is something that I still can't accept. It's hard for me to grasp that this is my reality sometimes, and it just doesn't make any sense. I'm a very like, to be honest, I'm a very non-superstitious person. I have the whole supernatural and all that, but I can't. But the things that I've seen and things that my team has seen over the past few years, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was just so prone on wanting to share my story. That was honestly, that was all that was on my mind. I didn't know what type of effect it would have on me and vice versa. I just knew like there was just no other way of doing what I had to do. I just had to get it out. and it's always been like that. It's always been about, well, even a lot of my concepts, it's very dark. Some of the videos that I shot are very dark, but there's always like a splitting image.
Right.
I've always subconsciously have hinted at it. You know, the whole mirror, the whole first Mito album, and again, it's still such a fairly new topic for me. You know, it's something that I have a hard time grasping, you know, and you know, for the most part, all I can ever do is project it on to whatever it is that I'm doing. And you know, people might say, "Oh, you know, but you don't have to do it like that." But but I don't think they understand sometimes. When I'm not me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's that means the thoughts, the trail of thoughts, the motives, just the knowledge and things. Not even just talking about the persona, are completely not yours. It's
Right.
not. It's a completely different person. So it's like an anomaly, and you know, it's a very hard thing because I get asked a question, but if you ask the same question to a different state that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
different answers, and
Completely, yeah. It's a different person, essentially. But
essentially,
people have a hard time grasping that concept of, but what do you mean it's a
it's
different person? It's the same person, but no, but it's not.
and I can't describe it. I really don't have any. You know, I'm seeing a specialist for this, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't really describe. Like I even myself, I find it really embarrassing. Number one,
Well, you
really,
shouldn't, but
yeah.
I appreciate your vulnerability, but you shouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it. Thank you for that, but it is really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing because it's, you know, for example, people have intrusive thoughts, and you know, people have some, like, you know, the deepest, darkest version of themselves, and you know, for the most part, a lot of people can choose to show that and not to show that.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm sometimes left with no choice, and it's sometimes, you know, it's a version of me that I would never want to really show the world. So the best thing I could do is really dumb that down to um, what it feels and what it looks like, conceptually, and hope that people will find some type of, I don't know, really just some type of comfort or whatever, it's, or understanding in a certain regards to it. But again, it's there has been some slip ups where, you know, usually if I feel like I'm turning it, long time ago there was it kind of surmounted to the switch, but ever since I ever since I started this whole the artistry, oh man, it's been hectic. It's been, I'm not gonna lie, it's been pretty crazy. It's just been like, it was like that, and it
It's
just switched
amped everything up.
100, like
Yeah.
at 50 and 60 and 70, and you know, I understand it, understandably so, because I think at the 50 or 60% mark, I was more in an environment where I think, well, I had more control over it, meaning I knew I blacked out, but I have always conformed to staying indoors. Like I never go out. I haven't went out, and I've only diverted all my energy and attention into making DPR,
Right.
what it is. So for me, like, people might think, you know, it's a very introverted thing, but for me, I had no choice because I've had my fair shares of. In the beginning, I tried to make people understand, and
Yeah.
turned terribly wrong because a lot of my friends were confused because they're like, oh, you know, you're like, you're very like this, but then all of a sudden you go missing, and
Right.
all of a sudden you come back like everything, like yourself. And I have really no, um, you know, in the beginning I was kind of, I guess, sad that that they didn't really get it, but you know, later on, if it feels like me, and I had no, you know, you had no real grasp of what this is, yeah, I think I would be confused, and I've
Right.
let a lot of people like that. So, you know, I think the whole insecurity part of this was just me having a hard time relationships and
Mm-hmm.
in general, just social life, just going out in parties. There's times where I'll just be outside and then I'll feel it, and then I'm like, okay, no, this is not
Gotta
happening. And
go.
then
Yeah.
and kind of like, when you see like the Batman lights going on, it's just I had to go back to my den and
Yeah.
and lock all the doors um, and then next minute I wake up and for the longest time I think it felt like a dream, just unfazed. Luckily, but again, I never recorded it. Well, there would be certain times where I would wonder about it, but I never recorded other than what I see that is left.
Right.
So it was very interesting. And then so beautiful was like I think the first time that I split in front of people,
Mm.
and that was
An experience
yeah,
for
that was
everyone.
everyone that was confused, but
Yeah.
not as confused as me. Yeah, again, that's when like whatever you the human mind is, I think, is an extremely scary place, and very very rightfully so. I heard even when Tom Holland did the method acting and the characterization for the person that had DID, he couldn't come out of it for like
Mm.
months. And
Yeah.
if I think that's kind of what it is, really, because you're disassociating yourself, and the more you do that, the more you feel like you're not a version of yourself,
Mm.
and you don't want to be. You kind of you think, oh, I'm this person. Like
Yeah.
you put yourself in a box, and I can never be someone that is this angry about something.
Yeah.
It makes sense disassociating, but now imagine, if you're in like one of those crazy episodes, and quite literally, that's what Mr. Insanity is really based on. His ideals are nothing can stop him.
Right.
But you see, that's like the most dangerous.
That's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets, and for me, it's I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. I think maybe I have, but I can't turn into Mido. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
that's part of one of my questions. We know that you are an incredible storyteller.
no,
We know that you have mentioned, like in the past, that your stories, the MVs that you provide us, they're all kind of, more so based on lucid dreams that you have had, and just trying to like bring them to life through the screen as best as you can for us to kind of understand, you know, what
right.
what you've gone through, what you visioned and stuff.
Mhm.
So given all of that, like, what do you feel is like the most important part of storytelling?
I think, well, for me, I think it has to be personal,
Mm.
because I think storytelling is, for me anyway, personally, I think it just comes from something that's it's you don't really have no thought to it. It's just really just automatic. Like a lot of times, people might think, um, like, oh, I wonder where he gets a lot of these ideas and
I had a
inspiration.
lot of questions from subscribers. I'm like, he's kind of already explained that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And for me, it's really not that well hard in my case, because for me, all I have to really do is just and this is another question. Sorry, I'm not going to
No,
ask a question.
you're good. You're good.
Do you remember a lot of your dreams?
I wish I did. I really don't remember a lot of them. And even after I first wake up, they're more like in the forefront. But like as I'm awake, if I don't write something down, like I pretty much lose almost all memory of it. Just little bits stay.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
see. That's kind of like what a lot of some of my fans and friends say, because I was always curious about this, because I always thought growing up people just remember their dreams until I
I
started asking,
wish.
and it's something that I've always had ever since I was a kid. I can remember dreams I had when I was 6, 7, and 10.
Wow.
It would stick out like a really sore thumb.
Hmm.
Uh, And for me, it wasn't like, obviously I had nightmares, and I know what certain part, and lucid dreaming was something I've always done. Um, but it was very much paired with sleep paralysis. So I would always,
Oh,
every time I dream, I get
yeah.
sleep paralysis. So I've had that, I have like sleep, I get sleep paralysis about uh, almost 6 days out of the week. Ever
Mm.
since I was in elementary school. So it's not a scary thing for me. It's just something that I grew
That's
up with.
rough though, man. Yeah.
I, and I had no idea when people I've never seen or heard. I hear things, but I've never seen anything.
Hmm.
But some people are different. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think for me, storytelling in general is just for me personally, it has to come from something personal.
Right.
And I think a big part of that is just being completely aware of if it's something personal, just being completely aware of like why it kind of one maybe have triggered you or why you're remembering it. And for me, I really like yourself. I really had to write down a lot of these things. I remember it, but It's very hard for me to articulate it sometimes
Yeah.
because there's so much going on in my head, and for me, it's so hard to just project it out there as it
Yeah.
is, and that's why I think I never really, funny enough, I never really thought I was a good storyteller. Um,
You
it's,
are
it's
wrong about that, honey.
I really appreciate that you say that, but I thought I was a horrible storyteller because of how unstructured and how all over the place it could be because it was so spontaneous. And I think for me, I think when I'm in that process, I don't really think about what leads to what to what. I think we try afterwards. My team and I we oversee it, and that's when we start making connections here and there.
Yeah.
But when I'm in that process, it's almost like something takes over me, quite literally, and it just what's funny is like I guess when I was Mitre 2, for example.
Mm.
Um, so Mitre 2, I really had to tap into being Mitre, obviously,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a tough job for me because it was, I think, the moment I realized this is getting a little serious because
Mm.
my blackouts are becoming more prominent, and when I come back, either I'm left absolutely floored with confusion,
Yeah.
or there are people in front of me that I don't know how I ever get to these positions, but more and more so, I'm left with seeing a lot of product on whether it be music
Yeah.
or whatever, like the project that's being played at hand. And it's quite funny because you might think the story aspect to the whole Mida law right now that's out, it's taken a turn where um, again, this comes from such a real part of my life, but I know for a fact Mido in the real world here is very opposed to my manic high self,
Yeah.
Mr. Insanity,
Yeah.
and he's always called me out on this, but he said there's only me and you,
Mm.
and I never really understood what that meant because he said you're just creating, I guess, a higher version of yourself, but that's you. But
Yeah.
your real other self is minor.
Yeah.
So,
Which
and
I
that's
guess would make sense because you've said that you still have a, you don't fully black out
right,
with
right,
Mr. Insanity. It's only Midas. So I guess that would make
a lot of
sense.
this.
Yeah.
And so he never really agreed with the idea of, well, number one, having it's so funny. We make this whole story was Mr. Insanity obviously is a character that represents my highs,
Yeah.
and I mean just for story purpose as well, but as well because it is myself that it is a version of me that really started a lot of the vision of this. Because again, when I'm writing, I don't really have, um, I guess you could say, like a yearning or want for developing a story
Mm.
such and such. It's only when I'm in my manic highs that's when I get extremely, I guess, euphoric and very like driven to the point where I feel like everything is aligning, and
Mm.
like I that's when a lot of my ideas come out. That's when a lot of my
Creativity. Yeah.
thoughts just flowing, and
Yeah.
I'm on just this steam engine of just
Yeah.
like pumping things out. But obviously, when that wears out, that's when I become minor.
Right.
For minor two, it was he when I changed, he took the storyline and he completely turned it into. I was switching when I was doing the edits, by the way, and
Interesting. Okay.
and every time I come back, the edits will be completely switched. And
That's kind of leading into a question I have later. Yeah, which I can ask now if you want me to.
yeah,
Obviously this is Dear Insanity's album, right?
yeah.
I don't know if you have an answer for this, but what are Mido's thoughts on kind of taking that back seat in a way and giving this spotlight on this album to Insanity? And how are his thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
If you know, of course.
I do,
Okay.
and this is actually a topic that um, I've been having a lot with like a friend of mine as well, because she also helps me like really um, I guess in a way figure out a lot of things with these characters, like coexist, learning to coexist. And I think the biggest thing was not only Insanity but me. So there are times where I would make a song as me,
Right.
and I'll become very insecure about it because it's not minor. So you got to understand, there are things that I've relatively thought I was very confident in doing just as me, not with like a third party influence, but just as me. And for example, Zombie Pop was a song that was just done by me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good.
But ever since I started Mido, I've started to really disconnect with a lot of the things that I've done in my past selves. And, it's one of those things where, I think I've started almost abusing the switches. And mind you, you shouldn't do this at all, but
Right.
I really just, in my mind, I thought that was coexisting. But what it really was doing it was creating an ego for. And what happened was later on, it got to a point where I would make something and it would be completely be bashed by. And he would say this, and I would know because the things that he would leave messages, and it was to the point where it was kind of. It's so funny because it's like this. It's like if I am fully proud of a song, if I made a song as myself, and I was fully confident in just this song's whole, like just soul in me, there will be no subconscious part of me, the deepest part of me, that will even have the thought of like maybe this isn't good enough. But that's essentially what Minor is. So that voice
Okay.
that you hear, that's like oh, if it was Minor though, would it sound? Would it? Would you? It's not Minor though. It's like stuff like that.
Just second guessing yourself.
Oh yes, but
Yeah.
that second guessing with a affirmative trigger turns into Minor. It almost becomes like a punishment later, where it's like I've had moments where I've made a decision on making a song and going to release it without having to give Minor the seed. And there was moments where I got to a point where I couldn't release it anymore, so we scrapped like for example, I was working on it for maybe like a month or two, and at the end of the day, I just couldn't bring myself to put it out.
So it's almost like you were seeking almost like validation or confirmation from him.
Yes. Yes.
Are you worried that, or were you worried that you were starting to kind of use him almost like as a crutch, and
Yes.
it was like preventing you from
being me?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest attributes that I've I leaned on was performance. So what was funny was the tour was extremely critical on me both understanding how bad my switches can be and how mad I can get.
Right.
And there's only 2 moments during the tour where I completely blacked out and I was just completely something else. But it was so funny because for me, I'm a very structured person. So when I go on stage, there'll be after at least maybe the 20th show, there'll be a certain repertory that I would follow. I'll go from here to here and I'll move like this at this point, at this marker. So
Right.
everything's structured. After 20 something shows, you think you get fairly used to it. And because of that, it gives you somewhat of a, I guess, comfort in knowing you can perform this at a more comfortable rate. But I think when I started, because again, if you're conditionally, physically not well and worn out, so it does have a toll on also your disorders. I mean,
Right.
so I had no idea what. Later on, it got to the point where I couldn't go up as myself, and Milo would take the floor, and he would just, I always say he's a bit of a diva because theatrical and but certain things I don't agree with, but he's just in his, like, I guess you could say, his glory, and before I would deliberately want to switch. So what I would do is I would look at the mirror before. So I don't think I've ever said this anywhere. Or maybe I have, but when I look into the mirror, I can't look at myself properly. I always do this, and you might have seen this habit. I always do this.
Yeah.
I always close this eye because I can't look at it. I have a hard time looking at it, and I don't even remember since when. I know I did that since high school. I always have a really hard time looking at myself front on. Even when I'm at the hairdressers, I sit down and I do this, and my hairdressers would always ask me why do you do that? Like, what do you squint? And I say, oh, it's just I can't look properly. Sometimes I have a hard time making eye contact, but again, it's all because I just have a very hard time processing who I am in a mirror. And I realized that later on. I just never knew why. But what happens is when I go to the mirror, again, it's the only thing that reflects what is remotely your reality. It's the only thing that will never lie to you.
Yeah.
Who hopes, right?
Unfortunately, sometimes. Oh, good Lord.
I would hope so. So, but for me, I look at it with this eye. But if I look at it with this eye, I get to the point where if I call it a delay. So there's a moment where my eyes start moving like this, and I look this way, and um, it's almost like you're looking, but then your eyes don't move, but then it does. So that to me signals it's not me.
Okay.
The only way I can really know. So I try not to do that too much because, well, I don't do that anymore now, but back then I kind of, again, you live, you learn, but I did that to bring out the side of me that could take the stage, not what I thought the weaker side was. And so technically I'm grabbing the essence of mine, going on stage, and just for the sake of bringing a show to the fans, because like there were moments where we did 4 shows in a row, and it would just be impossible to really get up there. And I know Tarbin had such a hard time doing so too, but we still managed to pull through. And I had no idea that I was in a huge episode during those periods of times. So then what's funny is what we did was, I'm not sure if you remember, but at the end of Nerves, the curtains fall, and you see just one big mirror.
Yeah.
So what that was it wasn't just for show. It was actually for, thankfully, a lot of the promoting team. It was there for me to look at myself, and at the end of the show, helped me identify who I was,
Really look at yourself.
look at myself, and who I
Yeah.
was on stage. And
I
people,
love that.
yeah, and people, obviously people were taking it as a show, and
Yeah.
it was for the most part for them. But for me, it was, and for the team, it was something that I had to snap out of sometimes.
Mm.
I would go to signal myself. If it's me, it would just be the cross, and it wouldn't be tainted. But
Right.
it was mine, it would be something completely different.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's like, it was just the one thing that I did constantly, and again, it was just those moments that I really could again take apart who I was, and it was hard for the most part. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
again, going back to that question, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's yes, Mona has become an entity that really does think it's he really does hold the power. So
Mm.
for me, it's like when we see insanity, and I'll tell you something. But so when I did this Insanity album, I think for the most part, I thought I was completely present
Mm.
doing this. Only to find out I really wasn't. So
Interesting. Okay.
it came as a shocker when now my manic highs were taking that form. And
Mm.
so this is what I mean
Giving
by,
too much power to it. Yeah. Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
and again, I'm such a fool for doing this, but again, I am taking certain precautions, and again, the more I learn, the more I do these things, the more I learn, and the more I can really just kind of tell a lot of people, at least even my therapist, just how it is.
Yeah.
But I had no idea it was going to be such a journey like this. Thank you so much. That really does mean a lot. I think, like I always say, but moments like these, like things that you say, it helps me clarify that it's okay with what I'm doing and the journey that I'm taking. Because again, like you just said, it is a lot of second guessing, and I think I've been second guessing because I don't really, I mean, I don't get out much, and so I
I
don't
don't
really.
either, but I don't have an excuse. I'm just a homebody.
No, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it's who likes to go out anyway, but
It's
not.
overrated.
It's overrated. Nothing really interesting out there. But no, for me, I really do want to. At the end of the day, DPR is just, call it a tool or call it a just whatever it is, but it is something that essentially I do want to help build worlds, and I tell my team this. It's just as important for the team, like building the team here, as it is for what we project out there. And
Yeah.
I think forever more so, it's like I do want to use myself as a catalyst to just help people want to even explore their worlds, and dream big, because honestly, I really don't, I don't agree with people that tell you your self-worth is here, and they've already kind of put you in a box. And
Right.
I feel like that's what always limits somebody from wanting to even go big for anything, because to them it becomes what's realistic and what's not. But what really is realistic and what's not, it's what you
Right.
make. So I think for me, DPR was just that big, I guess you could say, dream bubble of like people are being allowed to just dream big. And I don't there's I get I'm pretty sure people know, but we don't really hold like a certain way of doing things. It's not really orthodox, and even within our team, you can almost do anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think there's a lot of beauty in
Yeah,
that.
that's wonderful because so many people are so like confined and restricted or boxed in,
Yeah,
and I love
yeah.
that that's not the case at all.
And and again, it's because of people that do understand, and again, they don't have to understand completely.
Yeah.
And I always say, I'm always putting on a show, but you're always welcome to stay or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's for free. You could just come. You know. So it's, again, I think, I absolutely appreciate what you said, and again, it's good to know. It's absolutely good to know.
Well, I
Um,
in turn also appreciate what you said about my reactions, because the amount of comments, it's not as much as it used to be, but my God, the amount of people are just like, would you stop pausing every 5 seconds? Like, so many
well,
people bitch about that. I'm like, then
yeah,
my channel's not the channel for you. It's totally okay. You don't have to watch
right,
me. Like,
right,
find someone else who you is more suited to your needs. But this is how I enjoy. And my ADD ass brain cannot just wait till the end of something to remember what the hell I wanted to say. It doesn't work like that. I need to say what I need to say in the moment, or else it's
right.
gone. It's gone like 2 seconds later.
I think, yeah, I mean, and that's you. That's what makes you you, and I think that's what I found very like. I found that really amazing. I found that really like for me. I like that. I like that
I
part.
appreciate that. I know it's a little different than the norm, but
No, I know. I
it's just
think it's
me.
that's again. I think that's why I was like, wow. And I was very curious to hear what you say every time you post it. So I don't know. I think it's brilliant. Quite possibly, or because it's funny that you mentioned that. I've been having a lot of conversations with my friend that was always present for my switches. So
Mm,
she's the only one that seen like mono and like real, the true version. And the thing is, there are different versions of mono. So I always say like the more, I guess, the more I'm not like conditionally well, the more my alters start splitting as well.
okay.
It was, I think it was a moment where there was a question. It's like, what she asked, she said, to each of these alters, it's like, what's really important to you,
Mm,
you know? And for Milo, and the answer, it was different from when she had asked me prior to a year before. And I think in the beginning, Milo was like, I don't really care, you know,
mm,
like I'm just here because, and it's so funny because music even didn't um, feed his, I guess, his needs and satisfaction. So at a certain point, he got completely tired of making music and even not doing that. So he entertained a lot of the idea of like, uh, it's such a weird thing because it's like he would be saying, I don't, and this might sound weird, he'll be talking shit about insanity and insanity.
mm.
So it'll just go back and forth to the point where it would get confusing because we don't know who's telling the truth now. Because, for example, it'll be like, and I don't know, this might be a little too crazy. I don't know, but for me, it's like I have a hard time because a lot of the times it gets to a point where some of them, I don't know who wants to continue doing what I do, because insanity will make statements such as, he's the one that is keeping the boat afloat, as he would say. He's the one that, this regardless of um, what comes of it and how much it strains everyone, it still keeps us going. You know
And
what
in
I
a
mean?
sense, but doesn't that just feed into any insecurities you have?
Yes, so that's
Yeah.
exactly right. So what happens then is, so ultimately, mine is like, okay, but then who pays for that?
Yeah.
And then because, and this is where the spark started happening because it's who has more of a shine, I guess you could say.
Mm,
So it was never in, I guess, Myra's intention to really even think that insanity was a character that he just thought it was me. So it's
right.
essentially you that I'm kind of dealing with. But I think because yes, he's meant to be the protector and all that. So ultimately, it's kind of like it really narrows down to um, it's like a fight or flight type of mode. So
Mm,
if Milo comes, if Milo makes a scene and comes out of it, it's so funny because it comes back to me now.
mm,
So a lot of times where Milo, for example, insanity and then minor, and then it goes back to me. It leaves like a trail of chaos that I have to, in the real world, pay for, because not only, putting the whole like what happened for the last whatever aside, it's more like, I gotta start just making amends and, figuring out what I did, uh, walking with people, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And that was always the hardest moment for me, because it was like, like it's just like the music and artistry aside, DPR aside, it's just, I don't know, it was becoming almost too like suffocating, I guess you could say is the right word.
Yeah.
Um, and then the whole story took a complete turn, because Welcome to the Other Side was, it was like Mito's Spawn, with hints of insanity and hints of me. Um, and so was so my dance was obviously in the middle of it, just split it apart. And mind you, Mito's real voice is exact frequency. It might be a little, you might not believe it, but again, you got to actually hear it to believe it.
Yeah.
I can't go down to that octave.
And I find that so fascinating. But I mean, I've also heard cases in DID where, you know, the other personalities like speak a completely different language that the person doesn't even speak, you know? So it's crazy to think that, but like it's also like I believe it at the same time. I mean, you know.
Oh, trust me, it's hard for me to even grasp that is the reality. I can't even, I don't even get it. Even now, it's I have a hard time looking at these recorded footages of but yeah, that's really the case. He has for some reason a lot of knowledge biblically, whereas me, I went from Catholic Christian to, not really like going to church. It's like, so for me, it was something that was an interesting topic that he started bringing up. He would mark himself with a cross, and I've never really understood what, because you have like cross Ian, which is Christian,
Hmm.
the cross being representing Christ,
Right.
and it was like it's not a topic that I would really actually go into, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Um, but if I switch, he makes it about that. He makes himself the fallen angel, and I think it's from that reference of being misunderstood, you know. And it gets into the territory of like his storyline he becomes such the main character, where he goes back into the light. And I don't know what that essentially is. I think it's because I am a product of my very present environment.
Right.
So it would have to mean at Mario 3, it would have to mean I would have to find some type of retribution and some type of clearance of my other selves, meaning
Right.
they would have to come to some type of conclusion.
Yeah. Is there going to be a kumbaya moment, or is there going to be an all-out brawl? Like, and who's the winner? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do believe Mario 3 is going to be just that. We
Yeah.
don't know which one, but
So excited for that. Holy cow.
and we have a lot of plans, because I do want to screen it. I want to you know obviously yourself too. I want to invite you, and obviously we're going to do like this whole screening for a lot of people that really were like part of it, and I think it'll be amazing. I think you should definitely.
Would be absolutely amazing. Yes.
And yeah, and it would be the final, well, quote unquote showdown, I guess you could say. It would
And
also be,
sorry, I was gonna say, I know I mentioned in my last reaction when I saw Don't Go Insane, I was like, can we get a musical? Because holy shit, like, oh my god.
you know what, I'm completely down for that. I think it is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted the production um, that really just kind of goes beyond just theater, or
Yeah.
I do want to immerse a lot of different, I guess, mediums into just one. Like, I don't know what that would look like, but these
Mm-hmm.
days you could really start, I guess, entertaining all types of senses. I think that would be,
Yeah. I
no,
know.
but
I was like, I don't know who, but look, I don't know who else could play Insanity or Mido. I mean, like Ian could play them. I mean, like, come on.
Oh, goodness. Wow. Yeah, but just I think, yeah, like what you said, and going back to that, it is something that I think I'm trying to figure out, because in the storyline, Mido actually is completely aware of Ian's presence and his actually future self.
Mm,
The Mido movie, the Mido 2, the movie part 1,
yeah.
that's present day. So
Mm.
that's when Insanity has gotten to the point where he becomes almost ethereal. So
Which is the white outfit, correct?
yes, yes,
Mm,
he's gotten to the point where he is now, I guess you could say, final form,
yeah.
and he's just he's gone completely insane.
Right.
And underneath all of that is his two blind eyes.
Right.
Um, so he's completely blind, meaning
Is it because he doesn't have to see because he's beyond at this point?
yes, he's beyond. So yes, that is correct. He's beyond to the point, and this is kind of this is kind of again in the real, I guess, metaphoric aspect. It essentially entails, the more I stay longer in my mind, the more I lose a grip of reality.
Mm,
It has happened a few times. I sometimes wake up because I lose it, and this is, and what I mean by these trips to the other side is lucid dreaming.
right.
So um, finding a loophole into your dreams and walking around and going deeper and deeper and deeper. But when you wake up, I sometimes don't know if I'm dreaming or not,
Mm,
and that's when it becomes, I'd say, fairly somewhat dangerous,
mm,
because there were times where I would go take the elevator, go down to the first floor, and then I'll wake up and I'll be
mm.
completely lost. And that's kind of when I was like, oh my goodness, lock all the doors.
Yeah, like anything could have happened. Yeah, I gotcha.
So I'm again, I'm learning the do's and don'ts of a lot of these things, but just putting that into the form of a concept now. It's the doors are kind of essentially what I really do dream about. And I'll tell you something very interesting. I sometimes dream as Myra,
Mm,
and I dream as me. But there are times where um, my dream as Myra, I'll remember what that dream is.
ooh,
And my dream is me. So it'll be essentially like I'll be almost intruding on his dream. So it's a very interesting concept.
yeah.
And I would, and it's funny because I won't remember it as me,
Mm,
but when I switch as Myra, clear as day, I know exactly, and he'll say, I know exactly what he did in the dream. So that's another part of the conscious mind that I've
yeah.
no explain. And those were always the quote unquote just traumatic experiences that I
I was
love.
literally going to ask that question because I
Yes.
have so many questions, obviously, just of things that are in these MVs that, like, I'm still not quite sure about. And one of them was the door. And I
Yeah.
always had a theory that, obviously, Ian, both you, I said Ian as if I'm not talking to you, my goodness. Anyway, both you and Insanity want to open this door, right?
Yes.
In So I Dance. And but Mido's clearly like, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, well, if Mido's a protector and there's a reason why he doesn't want that door open, so I'm thinking that has to be like the past, the trauma, the memories. Like why else would Mido be okay. Yay! I had something right.
Nailed on the head. So those doors aren't meant to be open,
Right.
and there's a reason why.
So I get why Insanity's trying to open it because he goes too far. But why are you trying to open it?
So again, real life wise, it's to, I don't even know what I'm opening. So a long time ago, this is how it started. It never was about doors.
Mm,
It was about revisiting certain places that made me feel something. So I
mm,
always, um, dream wise, I don't draw up a memory map of what I went through the past, but I draw up something that's conceptually different, but it makes me feel like what I felt in that. So,
Yeah.
you know how, for example, when you smell something, but
Yes. Takes
smell
you
brings
back.
similar,
Absolutely.
similar. So when I found that out, it's and again, in this is the real life now. I think it was a year before I was, I would say, knocking on too many doors, and it got to the point where I would just switch all of a sudden, and mine would just, he would punish me in a way, but he would make a statement to stop opening the doors.
Yeah.
And that's when it became a concept. That's when I decided, I mean, I don't know if that's the right move, but this is what I mean why it's it's a real thing for me. And in So I Dance, like I said, insanity is yet insanity, to be frank. He's
Right.
taking the form of insanity, but he is not yet insanity. And out and the green is it's interesting because the green plays a huge aspect to this as well. Um, yeah, again, it's what Marta is essentially really trying to do is not kill insanity, because by killing him,
Yeah.
he needs to exist in all types of forms.
Right.
And maybe that might, just theoretically cure the DID if it was like that.
If it was like that, yeah. But at least in the lore aspect of things.
The raw aspect of the things.
Yeah.
That essentially is kind of what he's careful of, I guess you could say. Because again, Myra is completely aware of insanity, being Ian, the very first Ian.
Yeah.
And just for funsies, we wanted to bring the whole context of the time to something that it goes back way earlier. So when you have that quill, the quill that it's actually in more of those medieval times that Ian existed.
Yeah.
So in terms of the law, it's not modern day, and he goes back from way back. But when he breaks into these worlds, we don't know how long he's actually been there for. So later on, the story develops in a way where he wakes up in the modern world, but he's
okay.
of what is real and what's not. So that's later, and I don't know how much I'm exploring, but to be frank, the door aspect was the more it goes in, the more he loses a sense of anything, and the more he then becomes insanity.
Which I guess would make sense, because one of my other questions was, when we saw the "Don't Go Insane" teaser.
Yes,
it's you. It's not insanity, but then you put on the wig and you go to Emerald City, and but it's almost like you are becoming insanity while pretending to be insanity.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought was happening, but I'm just like, I'm not 100% sure.
He doesn't even know he's taking the form of insanity.
Right.
I think it's funny because he picks up, he doesn't know himself, but he's yet somewhat feeling different. So every single time he goes through the doors, he loses a bit of his sanity.
Yeah.
Later on, we see his final version where he's completely, I guess, masked up, but then underneath is he's all glittered up, and you see two eyes that are just missing. It's very brief, but his body holds the universe. That's why you have all this glitter, and he takes off the clown.
Like in Seraph.
Yes, in Seraph. That's the moment where he's literally, his presence is just completely, just it's not real,
Yeah,
and
it's otherworldly at that point.
And the present day is what you see as like so beautiful, and all these music videos, and you see the Ians that are in that are essentially Insanity's products, and Mito is on his way to ultimately, people might think he might be there to like kill the clown god, but it's essentially to stop him.
Right.
From
to stop him.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but
hey, if you want me to cut anything out, I will. I will respect that 100%.
Oh, but then I can tell you everything then.
I mean, you feel free. I will not tell a soul. I will cut whatever you want out, but only what you're comfortable with.
Well, it's it's funny. Yeah, like again, that was essentially, yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head there.
Well,
That's
that's
pretty.
good to know at least. I know I don't get everything right, but I really do try. Like I really do try to pay attention. I really try to like understand, and I know I'm never going to understand everything, but you don't understand everything either, so it makes sense as to why I wouldn't.
uh, it's pretty close. It's very fairly close. I'm like, wow.
Yay. Okay, so I have another question about mysteries in MVs that I'm not sure about.
Yep.
The chest at the end of Mido movie.
Yes.
It looks as if it's insanity opening the chest based on the jacket that's being worn.
Mhm.
But I don't know. But just based on the fact that that's the jacket that's being worn,
Oh, you mean the in my movie?
when
Yes,
when Misunderstood starts,
that
like it says
that.
that yeah,
Yes.
and there's a lot of color coming from that chest, and it makes me wonder what the hell
Mm,
is in the chest. Is
mm,
that the other side,
yes.
or
Okay. Well, so the chest is the later on it develops into more of a law, but the chest is something that he, I guess you could say, harnesses his powers.
powers? Okay, okay.
So with that, he changes. With that, he makes worlds. With that, he creates. So the reason why I had it as like a chess type of thing is because I wanted it to resemble Pandora's box.
Okay.
It was essentially entailing the idea of again, he's opening Pandora's box, and with it, he can, the power that insanity really has is completely jarring because later he can.
Editor Anitra here. I'm not exactly sure how much of this is a spoiler, so I'm gonna mute it just in case. Hope you're enjoying.
So yeah, I'll just spoil a little bit, but the Mario movie part two, uh, essentially what it is
Part two.
yes. So the movie part two. Would you like me to tell you the?
Whatever you're comfortable with, I don't want you, and I will cut out anything you want me to cut out. It's whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, you can cut out this part, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
Um,
Ronald has raised a hand, it says. Uh oh.
Continue spoiling, mate. Continue spoiling.
Okay.
Don't worry, I can spoil it to her. But the Mario movie part two, and that's where we have end part two. So yeah.
Wow, that is. I'm so excited and I'm so looking forward to that. Wow, that's gonna be so good.
That is. But yeah, it's pretty fun, pretty interesting.
It's so the process of everything I'm always so fascinated by. Speaking of the process, I always wondered this. So scheduling things for you. So
Mm,
obviously you can never plan when
no,
things might happen. But I always wondered like how it's just the schedule is what it is and whatever may happen type of like deal. Is that just how that goes, or
you mean on set or?
yeah, just like planning
Mm,
for things, scheduling things out, like we're gonna film this day, we're gonna do this day and stuff like that.
so we do have a very like, I guess I like to think, a very like passionate team
Mm-hmm.
that does work on scheduling, just purely on the scheduling. Because you're right, it gets well, I always say there's never enough time to shoot as much as I want to.
Yeah.
So I always have to confide it into such precise moments. I got to sometimes know exactly what I want, but it's never the case because I have a very unorthodox way of directing. For me, I can. That's why I don't really like storyboarding too much. I like storyboarding for the purpose of giving everyone a good idea.
Everyone else, yeah. It's more for
But
everyone else's sake, not for your sake. Yeah.
when I go there, I'm like, no, this is not how. It just doesn't feel right. I'm going to just switch it over, and who knows what comes out and of that moment. So a lot of times, my team really does do the hard pulling when it comes to scheduling, and it is I can't do it. I can't do it for the life of me. I just cannot do something like that. My mind just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful to have people that can do that for me. It makes my life a lot easier. But yeah, we do go in. We know exactly what we want. I'm so thankful that I have a team that's completely professional. So like even my DP and obviously all the creative directors and the ADs, and they just know exactly what I want, because we've been working on this project for years.
So long, yeah.
So not only are they passionate about just doing this in general, or doing what we love doing, they're extremely passionate about the storyline, the motto.
Yeah.
And they're so invested. So they're like, and for me, I'm really thankful, because I have people that know the storyline better than I do. Come back, I'm like, what was it again? Because I'm not too sure sometimes, but
it's a lot.
but people that just script it, and it's nice. It's really nice to have that.
But what, for your side of things, because I know obviously when you are tapping into certain scenes and stuff like that, like I know maybe it could be triggering for you, and like so like it's just if you switch, you switch, and that's just we'll see what happens type of thing. Like,
yeah, I think. Well, for the most part, I've always thought I was in control of my switches, until I wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was such a new process for me to understand, and granted, it hasn't. I think it's still fairly new that I'm still trying to get used to. Because again, the more I do, the more I find the don'ts, and it's such a learning curve for me, because there was a moment in time where I think it's for Diamond Tea Pearls. That was the first time I switched without any warning, and I think that was one of the most traumatic experiences yet.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even something that I shot. It wasn't something that so I was working with a team that was third party, and I was completely fine. And then just next minute I'm in the bathroom. So it was just moments like that it's just I think I'm learning as I'm going as well. But my team has a lot of precautious, well, I guess a drill, I guess you could say, when they think I'm not right. First thing is, cut the Wi-Fi. This man online, rightfully so. So
absolutely.
I've had my slip-ups here and there, but again, because people don't see that as a switch, they see that as this guy's off his meds, or he's completely drunk. Yeah, but so I mean, again, it's off goes the Wi-Fi, and and it's surveillance. So I feel for my team. I can't believe the things they put up with me.
Well, obviously, you are the type of person that they very much care about, and very much are happy to be there in that way for. You know what I mean? There's obviously reasons why they've been around for as long as they have. So.
You're right. Extremely grateful. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm all over the place with my questions. It's not even funny, but
I love it.
That's kind of how it is sometimes, right? Okay. So we've talked about the door. We've talked about the chest at the end of Mito movie. That doesn't have anything to do with the chest that the green pulls Mito doll out of, does it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think it did, but I was like, you never know. It's a chest. It's a chest. Things are coming out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been, but no, it's you're right. It was just like a chest that were like, could be fine to put in all the goodies, and that chest was like, I really did want to put show off like that Mito ribbon doll.
How cute is that? Oh my gosh, it's the cutest thing.
Yeah, I think a dreamer from Mexico, I was like, man, we got to put that in. I feel like the fans would love it. And not only that, but just in terms of storyline too, it was kind of foreshadowing what was to come in terms of. So, and the green just had no idea.
Because you said that's in the storyline, that moment hadn't happened yet. So yeah. Makes sense.
And it will be very fun to just, because later on, I imagine people are going to come across just this law, Mito in general, maybe the first time in 10 years later. So when they come across this, they'll see it, in like a breath of fresh air. Like they don't have no idea about it, and by then I believe like the whole Mito law would come to an end. But there'll be people that will be like, watching for the first time. So I thought to just include certain moments that have already passed, but for people they're like, want to go from chronological order, I think it would be quite interesting.
For sure. And I know that probably just made that person's like year, just seeing that there for sure. So I thought that was just really special that you would put that in there. I thought that was awesome. Okay, so speaking of the green though, so I know that we're still unaware of exactly who the green is, and I know that you have plans to probably reveal that eventually. Is that something that will be revealed like in the next album or like in MVs, or do you think that'll be before then, or?
Or and maybe in the future, maybe before, because we have drawn up a good map of like who he is essentially, but how we're going to reveal it is I think it might take some time. And the reason is I think the only hint I could have ever given to people was
sorry guys, more spoilers, but you are going to be so excited when you guys figure this all out. Oh, that's so intriguing. So intriguing. Oh, hybrid? What? That's obviously something that you've mentioned somewhat recently. That is like, I'm just thinking like, what are we even talking about here?
I think just not recently, but we've always known, or in our team, that in order to get to minor, we go to the phase of insanity.
Right.
But it's we kind of thought, mind you, like my manic highs get to a point where sometimes it just concludes at a moment where it's a very good like high feeling.
Right.
And there are moments where it gets like I would say you go a little bit insane, meaning you get a little too crazy. But if that moment is triggered by something that is very negative, or I would say something.
Insanity isn't necessarily angry. He's just
no, he's just curious. So what happens in the story before is, you know how he wakes up from the grave.
Yeah.
So what happens is, so the green pulls him out, and before that he's on what looks like a bed, and you have these things coming out, and he opens too many doors and he gets into the wrong door.
And these are the doors, for just a visual example, these are the doors, for instance, that we would see in Peanut Butter and Tears.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Peanut Butter and Tears is the very early stages of Ian. Essentially because he looks completely fine, and but so it was a character that I was like, man, I want to develop it, but it's like it would be such a dangerous thing to develop if I had to really play that part.
I was about to say, because like tapping, because you give life to we see, you've already said a couple of times here that like you've learned your lesson.
So I did that there, so
yeah,
I knew how to act it because I knew what it looked like, but I could never do that. In real retrospect, I could never do that.
So what do you think comes easier for you between like the music side of things or the directing side of things? And like a compound question to that is, what do you think you're more critical of yourself on?
I think what's easier for me is definitely, man, in terms of easiness or how fast I can just kind of do it is music. But maybe that's why I'm the most critical of myself when it's music. It's funny because videography, I know it's something that I can see visually, and I can only it takes a lot of time. For me, I've curated that over so many years, but music I think is something I've always loved, but I haven't really curated it just yet. I hear things, but sometimes the reason why I think I'm so critical about that is evidently because of my switches, or because I'm not present a lot of times when I make it. So when I kind of resort to these characters, and these characters make certain songs, and when I make it, it becomes like it's so funny. It's ironically, you do become yourself your own biggest critic, and
Yeah.
and quite literally.
So, subscriber questions. Okay,
Yes.
so one of the subscribers said, her name's Leah. Maybe it's a longer name, but I'll just say Leah. As someone who struggles with mental health issues, I could never be so open about them, mainly because of the fear of not being accepted. I would just like to know how he got the courage to be so open about his when he has millions of people watching him and some that may not understand him or his message.
It's a good question. I think courage. I think for me, I've always been in the regards of like not being too apologetic for being who you are. I think that was just the one thing that, like disregarding just like mental disorders. I think just as a person, I've always thought you had to, that you shouldn't apologize for just being who you are. And again, it comes from like a motto that my mom used to really just kind of ingrain into me. It was like, be yourself always. And it's as simple as that, it's that's why I think when it came to something like talking about my struggles, and I've never really, as ironically as that is, I've never really narrowed it down to it being the problem with me. I mean, I've always tried to, and I think in the earlier stages of my life, I tried to fix it. But I think the more and more time went on, I realized it's a part of me. And for better or worse, it is me at the end of the day. And it does, I think for me, I think it always helps any individual become stronger. And once you overcome it, I think it's, I think we're too focused sometimes on a lot of the negatives that it reflects on us, that we sometimes forget all the good that really does come out of it. And I really do see it as a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And I think that's why for me, I think it's, first and foremost, when I had to announce that to so many people in the world, I did have a lot of fear. It wasn't like, oh, I'm super like,
not easy.
like this is like the easiest thing. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was because, again, we're all human, and I think we all are somewhat scared of revealing too much about ourselves. It's, again, for whatever reason, if it's too ever exposing, you might, like I said before, I mean, I get embarrassed a lot, and I do. So it's having to just learn with the idea that it is yourself, and I think that's completely fine. And not everyone's perfect, and I don't even know what that word means sometimes. I think
there's no such thing. Let's be real.
Yeah. Again, like pushing that agenda of being perfect, I think being imperfect is the new perfection, and I think that's kind of what I thought my role was meant to be when I had to be so transparent and be that person that was vulnerable. Not because it was like, oh, like this is the only option I have, but no, I chose to do that. And again, like I told you before too, it was I'm still like somewhat semi confused sometimes. I do second guess myself, but if you have people around you, I think at the end of the day that support you, and it doesn't have to be like people that you've known for so many years, and there's always going to be somebody that look out for you. And I think if that person makes you feel important enough, I think that's really what matters. And you should be yourself, and you should be completely fine. So
I love that. Thank you.
No worries.
So it says, this one I thought was super interesting. I loved this one.
No.
It says so Ian mentioned he sometimes switches when writing songs. For example, he switched when making Bad Cold to the song also switches at a certain part. If you get a chance, could you please find out if Mito or Mr. Insanity have relayed to Ian their opinions on any changes Ian may have made to their contributions to a song? For example, has Mito been like, hey, why did you cut this out, or anything like that?
That's very funny.
I was like, ooh, I love that question.
You know what? I'm not that intrusive. Unlike them. So I don't think I've never overstepped any one of theirs. And again, I think this is just coming from I'm not saying they're disrespectful, but
I know. I like how you're like, well, I've never overstepped, aka they
yeah,
have all the time.
crazy. It's me at the end of the day. I mean, but
No, but
no, I don't think I've ever second guessed what they could do. So, if
mm,
anything, I think I put that in on a pedestal, because I'm somewhat proud of that. I
yeah,
mean, again, it's more. I mean, I hope they think the same too. But again, it's you can't please everyone,
yeah,
especially yourself. So I am the biggest critic,
yeah,
and I think maybe that's kind of what it is. I think that's why, ironically, I probably had to disassociate myself to, find a way to be comfortable in my skin. Maybe that's
mm,
what it really is. And when I'm me, when I look at that, I don't think I've ever made any changes to it.
yeah.
You know, yeah. So it
It's
is. That's
more so, if anything, you just make changes to your own stuff, not anything that they've
oh yeah,
necessarily contributed.
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good question. You know
I
what? I've never
know.
thought of even doing that, but I
That
think
was Linda Lee. That was Linda Lee's question.
that's a really interesting question. I think I might just start doing that now.
Just to see what they say.
Just
Like, ooh, let's see if I get a little reaction out of them if I do this.
open this. I don't know. That's
I don't know if that's a smart thing.
but
So
yeah.
the next question is, it's about collabs.
Okay.
And I know that you've talked, like you just recently, mentioned Stray Kids in one of an interview that
Oh
was
yes, yes,
released
yes.
and stuff. Now I do also know that Taman recently mentioned
Oh yeah,
collab with
reach
you.
out.
And I also know that on the 18th and 19th in
Yeah.
Bangkok, you guys will both be at the
I
Super
know.
Sound Festival.
That's
And I'm like,
yeah,
they're both going to be in the same place. And Taman's
yeah.
definitely mentioned wanting to collab. I wonder if there would maybe be
I
any
mean,
talks.
yeah. Like I mean, I said this before on my I think one of my lives. He's definitely uh like an artist that I've always kind of thought was amazing in
Yeah.
terms of knows how to express himself. Like,
Yeah.
but at a level where you just, to be honest, you don't see many other artists doing. And I think
There's so much elegance to what he does. It's
it's beautiful.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
think it's the right way. It's very beautiful and it's elegant. So for me, like honestly, yeah, I would love that. And we are probably going to be watching each other's performances. So I think that's always for me too. It's kind of nerve wracking because it's someone that I've always admired too,
Mhm.
and for him to like want that, it was yeah, extremely grateful. And again, I was like, wow, really, me? Like,
I
so
know. I was about to say, I was going to follow it up with, what do you think when people, like, you hear
I
them mention your name or.
I can't get used to it. I really can't get used to it. I don't know why. I just can't get used to even people recognizing me on the streets. I've never really got familiar with that um, exchange or the idea of it. So that's why I never ever resort to turning anyone down. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I don't think I'll ever like be like no to somebody that just wants a picture, or sometimes I'll see some fans that um, might be like they might be too I guess worried that they might be intruding, and I'll tell them, I'll go up to them and I'll be like, let's take a picture, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't force that on them, but I just want to, because it feels me, and then it feels someone that I admired. I would want that person to do the same for me. So um, just just thinking like that, rightfully so. That's kind of why I don't know. I mean, really me, and
Yeah,
then
that's how
that's
I
just
feel when you said you like my reactions. I'm like, what? Like, what is
no,
life? Like, what is happening?
no, no. I think no. You're being too much.
Well, you just taking a moment to wish me happy birthday. I was just like,
Oh yes, of
what
course.
is life? Like, what is happening right now? This isn't real.
Well, I mean, I think it was so fun because it's very aligned with what we're doing right now too.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So the next one is, I would love to know what songs of his he would recommend to get into his music as a first step.
No goodness.
I would personally just say start at the beginning, honey, because it is a journey. But I wonder what your thought is.
I think no. I think you're right. I think the first album, um, I would say zombie pop, but that's like you're asking for something completely different later on.
Yeah.
No, but I would definitely start from minor one because I think the fun in what I make is even there are people that get into me like with the more recent songs and stuff like that. It's always I think a extreme fun endeavor for me because if you go to the first album, it really does. It's just like a timestamp of like the process that I went through,
Yeah.
and I yeah, any new listener, any new fan, you know, if you want to just not necessarily be completely indulged in the lore, but just more like if you want to see just the process of it, and you'll gradually feel it. I think yeah, from the first album, second, and then obviously to Dear Insanity right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. That's what I thought too, but
yeah.
I never know. So someone is also, of course, asking about touring. US, UK, Europe, those are the primary areas that people even, especially, I had multiple questions about the Scandinavian area in particular. I was like,
Interesting.
that's interesting. But yeah, so people are just very curious. We obviously know that you have talked about touring and you are
Mhm.
actively doing shows currently.
Oh yes,
And I know that you just mentioned earlier in our talks that touring next year sometime, which
yes.
I am just so
Well,
looking forward to. I am there 100% as I was
yeah,
last year.
yes.
But
Oh
yeah,
yes, it's so much bigger and better. That's for sure. And you know, I think it's I don't know, like it's last year's tour was just absolutely like phenomenal. You know, it helped me learn a lot about myself, but it also helped me learn what type of people I'm having a lot of engagement with, and I think you know I've always said this, but like I think one of my favorite moments are is when like you know we get to actually talk with the fans, and you know they get to tell me their stories of, and it's honestly I think that was like the moment of I think shock, but at the same time, like wow, like this is a huge relief that you know it's kind of like what I've wanted my music to take course in, you know, and you know just hearing like what type of effect it had on a lot of these dreamers, it was just like wow, like that's insane, really me, like it was like one
and
of those
hopefully
things.
validation for you that like
Yeah,
what you're doing like has an effect on people and like really just is resonating or means a lot to them.
yeah, that's interesting, really, because I kind of always hoped that it would be doing that, but you know, again, I've always second guessed myself is to the point where, oh God, am I like being a little too mm, overly truthful, or you know,
Yeah.
because I get it because I've been in this business for you know a while, you know, and this is the first time I really am coming somewhat clean, I think, with who I am as a person, and I think it's always going to be a mixed, um, it's always going to be a mixed reaction of
Yeah.
like, you know, we thought you were like this, but you know, it turns out you know you're a little more trouble than we thought, but I've never really put that as like a
Yeah.
you know, I never said I was this or so. I mean, it is something that I'm also getting used to. But if it's helping people and if it's doing something naturally that you know, again, people are finding comfort in, then yeah, it's absolutely worthwhile. I think there's I wouldn't bat an eye to like or like you know regret any of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
You know, has it been a challenge? Yes, it always
Of
has, and
course.
it's
Well, and
something
there's
that I
a vulnerability to it as well, and like in exposing so much, and you don't want people to like take advantage of you because of that and
yeah
stuff, you know.
yeah
So yeah,
yeah yeah, and you know yeah, it's yeah, definitely a challenge. I think I'm learning as I go. You know, I have you know, like I mentioned before, but you know, I only have like just certain people that I can talk to about this in my actual life. You know, if not two, like one maybe. So
yeah,
for me, like I think I've realized there's just a lot of power in having just people understand you.
right,
Not necessarily like it doesn't have to be to a T, but is I guess willing to kind of go to the lengths of like wanting to understand it. And I think for me that was never I don't know, I just never thought that was a realistic option for anybody because I thought, you know, like like why would I want to bear somebody with that type of learn.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. A lot of people would think, I rather somewhat deal with it myself rather than putting a hand out, because it might put somebody else's thing in, I don't know, like jeopardy, or like it might put somebody else's in a lot of stress. And I've been like that forever.
Yeah.
And you might miss, and I think that's a common mistake with being independent. I think being independent is one thing, but I think if you're able to ask for help while being able to manage, I think that's also part of being dependent.
Yeah.
I think, again, it's not wrong to be dependent on somebody, if you know what you're asking for, and that person's just, again, as long as you're not scamming anybody, like
Yeah.
you're like. But again, it's I'm learning as I'm going.
I guess my last question, so I can let you go, because I'm sure it's been a while. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this was a
thank you.
Oh
Do you have any questions for me?
my goodness, I was just curious. I was always curious about what made you, I guess, what piqued your interest in, I guess, wanting to find out about, I guess, even just Mito in general, because I think it's just more like what really fascinates you about this, because I don't know, for someone like me, I've always thought that was an interesting thing to just be like. It's not an interesting, a hard thing for anyone to really just kind of delve into.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always like was a little bit like second guessing if I'm being a little too exposing of this, because at the end of the day, it's not something that I kind of imagine people really getting into. For me, what I feared was, if it's too real, people might not enjoy it, because
yeah. And
maybe
that you
yeah,
never know how other people might take it. Of course,
I
this is
agree. But I just never thought that other factor would have even existed. So even just yourself alone, I think for me that's really worthwhile, because again, it's something that I'm kind of discovering as myself. But it's so funny because we call it a journey, but for me, legitimately, it really is. You have like, it's kind of like you have front row seats to my journey, and it's and like, I think it's a no brainer. The minute I did sign myself to expose myself to the world anyway,
Yeah.
as a figure, I mean, it's like you are out there anyway, and
Yeah.
might as well just be like authentic with it. And I think for me, it's such a funny thing when people, I like, here's the thing, I understand when people get famous now, and then they feel like their privacy is being almost like intruded.
Right.
But I think for me, I think it's a level of understanding of like, oh, I mean, I did sign up for this, and if I'm going to do this, I want to do it properly.
Yeah. You're putting it out there on your terms.
Yes, and I don't want to just do it, just for the sake of doing it. And I'm not going to rap or sing about certain things that I don't relate to anyway. So, it has to really be specifically things that I want to express and be personal about.
Right.
And for me, I'm just a do or die type of person. So it's like, I'm gonna go straight just for the I don't know, what do you call it? I'm gonna go like, what do you call that?
Go for the gusto. Just goes.
Yes,
Give it all.
Just give it my all.
Yeah.
Or I'm not gonna do it at all. Like, it's either that option or this. So again, it just goes back to the whole like, be yourself. And my mom always told me to be myself, and don't apologize for it.
Yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
think what makes this any different.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think, again, from that first question you asked, it was it's just tailing back to that. It's like, I never said I had like the answers for things, but I'm figuring it out. But I've never apologized for who I was at the end of the day. And I don't think anyone should. You're different every single moment of your life. What mistakes you might have made in the past, I mean, it's the you then, and you're forever growing. So how can you constantly be judged on for every single moment.
Yeah.
But again, it's the world we live in, and certain things that I can't really change, but it's we're all trying. And again, if it wasn't for like the reactions that you do, I would have never have known on any insight on like how people are receiving things and how that makes me feel. So I think it's I'm extremely grateful, and that's something that I enjoy, and my whole team enjoys it. Like we all sit down and we watch it. We all know who you are.
Oh God, that's so weird. I can't take compliments. I don't know how to take compliments, but I appreciate that.
No, we appreciate it. So thank you so much.